Sharon Graham, this weekend you've accused the Labour leadership of miserable managerialism. Is there anything that Keir Starmer could say or do that would convince you that a Starmer-led government won't just be warmed over Blairism?
Well, look, I'm the leader of a trade union. I'm the leader of a trade union, so we're not a branch of the Labour Party. I run a union, and my absolute fundamental job when I wake up in the morning is to deliver for working people. And so if it's uncomfortable for me to be raising issues like the renationalisation of energy, investment in steel, oil and gas, then I'm not embarrassed by that because that's my job to do it. So I'm going to keep Labour's feet to the fire. Of course I want a Labour government. I absolutely want a Labour government, of course, but I want a Labour government that is going to make real change to people's lives. And I think at the moment, Labour are being too timid.
Ah, well, I want to come to all of those points, but one of the things that you said in both the article you wrote this weekend and one that you wrote a month ago, that you questioned whether Labour is... what side is Labour on? Now, here in the conference centre, we're full of corporates. There are more corporate stands here than there were at the Tory party conference. Are you sure Labour is on the side of working people still?
Well, look, for me, I want them to be more on the side. We've just had 13 years of Tory rule, and it's been absolutely abhorrent what's happened to people. People are actually just merely existing. And I want Labour to come in and now bat for workers and their communities. We've had 13 years of Tories batting for big business and batting for the rich. This is the time for Labour to come in and bat for our side, bat for workers and bat for communities.
I know that's what you want, but what I'm trying to get at is how confident you are that the incoming Labour government will be the sort of Labour government that you'd want. Now, Peter Mandelson, who's one of the architects of New Labour, I'm sure you're familiar with him, is going to make a speech this week in which he'll say, we gather, we have to make higher levels of private investment the foundation of everything else we would want to achieve. For example, in the role Labour's proposed National Wealth Fund will lever in and partner private capital. Do you agree that that's fundamental?
Well, look, what I think is we've tried a lot of that before, haven't we? I'm really pushing at the moment at this conference for the renationalisation of energy. And we thought that it was the right thing, the Tories actually, but we haven't reversed that, it was the right thing to have energy in private hands. That has meant we've got astronomical bills. It means we've got no control over a key asset. It means that the French people have lower bills because EDF own their own energy. And I often think we are in favour. Labour is in favour of nationalisation as long as it's another country owning it. I mean, what we've got to do now is to say what are the different choices we can make that mean that the workers and the communities in Britain, they can feel a Labour government. That's the thing for me. Of course I want Labour to get in. I'll campaign for Labour, but I want them to count. I want to be able to feel a Labour government like we did in 1945.
Well, let's talk about some of the things that would make you feel that it's your kind of Labour government. Let's talk about the nationalisation. You've been pretty clear that you want electricity and gas in public hands. You're the dominant union in the other energy sector, which is oil.
Yes, yeah.
Would you like Keir Starmer, when he speaks this week, to say, maybe not tomorrow, but one day we are going to nationalise BP?
Well, look, what I want him to say is that he's going to do something. I want him to say that actually we are on this journey, we're on this path. And part of that, and there are sort of three things that I'm really talking about this week. One is on the privatisation and the renationalisation of energy, so to take it out of private hands. The other is in relation to workers' rights. And of course, we have the issue around steel. We have a steel industry on its knees and we need proper investment in steel. So I'm here this week. Normally, I wouldn't be here, actually, Trevor. Normally, I'd be on a picket line or negotiations.
That's very unusual.
I wouldn't normally be here.
Your predecessors would always turn up at Labour Party conferences.
My job is to fight for workers. That's the job that I have. I'm here for some of this week because we're at the business end now. We're at the business end. We're affiliated to Labour and we're at the business end. And I want to say really clearly, they need to put a better offer on the table for workers. Now, I think, obviously, I hope they win. I want them to win. But there's a difference between limping into number 10 and being actually carried in there to say, look, actually, this person's got to come in and they're going to back for us.
I'm trying to get from you what would actually constitute that. And I really want to pin you down a little bit on this. What do you want Labour to say about public ownership of oil and gas?
Well, at the moment, we're talking about we're talking about energy, and so we're prioritising because we're prioritising. And I'm the trade union leader of a union, and my members make decisions of what it is they would like us to say on these things. We had a conference in July, and the energy members said they wanted their industry to be renationalised.
You want BP to be nationalised?
That's not what I've said, Trevor, is it? You're putting words into my mouth. What I've said is that I take my lead from my members. And the priority that we're looking at the moment are two things, because you're not going to get everything. And one is steel and one is energy. Now, the wider issue that I would say to you...
So you do want steel to be brought back into public ownership?
Well, what I think about steel is that we should have a stake in steel. We are in a serious situation of steel where effectively this industry is literally on its knees. We could be the green steel capital of Europe. This country could be in the green steel capital of Europe if we invested well. Why give that investment and not have a stake? And so there's a conversation about that. But the wider issue for me that I'm asking Labour to do, the much wider issue, is about choices. We are a £2.5 trillion economy. So let nobody tell me that we can't afford to renationalise energy at £90 billion. We're a £2.5 trillion economy.
You want the Labour Party to commit to spending £90 billion renationalising the electricity and gas.
Well, but let me just talk you through that, because
you're quite specific in your document.
I'm very specific. So basically, £90 billion, but that is an asset on our books. So it's not like you drink a pint down the pub and it goes away. It's an asset on our books, and we're a £2.5 trillion economy. If we made different choices, we'd have different outcomes, and that is the point that I'm trying to make at the moment. That, for example, if you said that 1.5% on everybody who had over £10 million in this country, over £10 million in assets, that would bring in £17 billion a year. We're currently doing a paper, because nobody's talking about this, on what other choices can be made.
So is that what you mean when you say in your document, I've looked at the Unite document, and I know you've got a report coming on this. Is that what you mean by progressive taxation? That you want wealth now to be taxed at a higher rate? You want more money off essentially middle-class people?
Well, look, what we're looking at is a whole range of things, and Unite's got an area called Unite Investigates, and we were the ones that brought out the profiteering report. We were the ones that showed that the Governor of the Bank of England saying, tighten your belts, don't ask for a pay rise because it will cause inflation. Actually, there was huge profiteering on the other side of that was causing inflation.
One last political question. One of the MPs that you supported as a union for a long time now sits as an independent MP, not a Labour MP, Jeremy Corbyn. If he decides to fight Islington North as an independent, will you be supporting him still?
Well, we couldn't do that, Trevor, because obviously our union's rule book is that we're affiliated to Labour. And if you're affiliated to Labour, it's just happened in July that our union reconfirmed its affiliation by a vote, a very strong vote, by the way, by a vote. And of course, Labour's rules are that if you supported an independent, you would be expelled. And therefore, that decision isn't a decision because our members made that decision.
So no support
when
for
we've
Corbyn.
Effectively, well, the support is for the Labour Party because that's what our rule book says that we do.
Look, it's the very last point. What we've been talking about is the kind of Labour government you'd like to see. Would you prefer a Labour government that will make Peter Mandelson happy, or another government of another colour?
I want a Labour government, let's be really clear. And quite frankly, I saw that Peter Mandelson was saying Labour should be bolder as well. That was someone who agreed with me that I didn't expect. I want Labour to be bolder, because if they're bolder, we can really deal with what's happening in society. Let's do what it says on the Labour tin. Let's go in and be Labour.
Sharon Graham, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trevor.